California Superior Court, January 2026. Aaron Kistler, a product manager with nearly 2 decades of experience, applied to a role at PayPal. She was rejected, not by a recruiter, not by a hiring manager, by a match score between 0 and 5, generated by a system she had never heard of, based on a dossier she was never shown. The lawsuit that followed, Kistler v. Eightfold AI, filed in the Superior Court of California, County of Contra Costa, is not a traditional discrimination case. It applies the 55-year-old Fair Credit Reporting Act to a modern AI hiring platform. The theory is precise. When an AI system generates a score used to determine employment eligibility, it becomes a consumer reporting agency, and the FCRA already specifies what a consumer reporting agency must do. The architecture that produced this exposure is called the megaprompt wrapper. The vendor ingests a candidate's resume, the job description, company policies, and potentially harvested external data from LinkedIn, GitHub, and behavioral signals, all fed into one massive prompt. The model is expected to screen, rank, and justify in a single pass. The result is non-deterministic. Minor prompt rewording changes the outcome. The reasoning process is invisible. There is no step-by-step log of which data points drove the score, and the prohibited data problem is unresolvable. If age, location, or university prestige proxy entered the harvested data, the system cannot prove it was excluded. That inability to prove is the legal exposure. The alternative is a multi-agent system, an architecture that distributes candidate evaluation across 5 specialized agents, each with a defined role, permission set, and immutable audit log. The first is the planning agent. It establishes the required workflow based on current jurisdictional law. If the applicant is in Illinois, the planning agent ensures a mandatory disclosure step executes before any screening begins. The second is the data ingestion and provenance agent. Every data point is tagged by origin, declared data from the candidate's resume, or inferred data from external sources. Inferred data is flagged as context only and cannot reach the final score without explicit human approval. The third is the retrieval augmented generation agent. It grounds the model in the actual job requirements and documented hiring patterns, replacing vibe-based generation with authoritative context. The fourth is the compliance and bias agent. Before any score is finalized, this agent reviews process logs to verify that no prohibited attribute influenced the outcome. If a potential bias is detected, the process halts and routes to a human reviewer. The fifth is the response and explainability agent. It translates the technical decision using SHAP, Shapley additive explanations, which assigns a mathematically rigorous weight to each feature's contribution to the final score. A product manager with a project management certification sees a specific attribution, not a number between 0 and 5. The regulatory environment confirms this architecture is no longer optional. New York City's Local Law 144, effective July 2023, requires annual independent bias audits and public disclosure of results. Illinois HB 3773, effective January 1, 2026, prohibits AI that has the effect of discrimination and mandates candidate notices written in plain language. California SB 53, also effective January 1st, holds employers liable for disparate impact regardless of intent, with record retention required for 4 years. Colorado's AI Act takes effect June 30th, 2026, 49 days from today, imposing a duty of care to protect against algorithmic discrimination and requiring routine independent audits. Enterprises using third-party tools are not shielded by outsourcing. The FCRA right to disclosure, right to access, and right to dispute apply to any employment decision made using a third-party AI score. Microsoft, PayPal, Morgan Stanley, and Starbucks are named in this filing not because their engineers built a flawed system, but because they used one. The liability follows the decision, not the code. The Eightfold incident marks the end of the wrapper era. The assumption that a convenient third-party integration carries no institutional risk. The path forward requires transparent multi-agent orchestration, mathematically defensible explainability, and verifiable data provenance. Deep AI is not a luxury for the technologically advanced. It is the minimum standard for the ethically responsible. At Veriprajna, we build the architecture of accountability. The complete technical and regulatory analysis is in the brief. Read the 13-page analysis, approximately 17 minutes, and know what the Eightfold aftermath demands from enterprise AI.